the difference between how a person acts when he or she feels safe, secure, comfortable, good about oneself versus how one acts when one feels under attack or insecure, unsafe, and so forth is drastic. The observation can strike that a person can be completely different under different conditions. Here, the same person, again, that feels comfortable, that feels safe, that feels secure, can show great character traits, can show kindness, can show love, can be patient, can be attentive, and so on. In 10 seconds, something is said, something happens such that a person feels uncomfortable, unsafe, under attack, has his or her pride infringed upon, and so on. And all of a sudden, it's as if there is a completely different person. This is so even within the normative, psychological, moral range, but it is all the more perhaps, or all the more glaringly so, in connection with persons with personality problems. Somebody that um, even can be described by such terms as narcissistic, psychopathic, sociopathic, what have we, if you get that person under just the right conditions. And that person feels just great and feels dotted upon, feels sufficiently admired, whatever the case might be. We can see outstanding behavior from even an otherwise very problematic person. But again, even within a normative range, needless to say, a person acts very, very differently depending on how he or she feels vis a vis those um, states: safety, security, self esteem, and so on. So, what can be said on this account? One question that could be asked would be, who is the true person? Is the real me, the me such that comes out only under those ideal circumstances? Or is the real me that, or the one who comes out when push comes to shove? And again, I feel under attack. I feel that my pride is stomped upon, and so on. It could be said that there's no need necessarily to choose one or the other. It could be said that both are me. However, that the former, meaning the way that I act under ideal circumstances, is a sort of anticipation of what I could be in theory. It is not really yet me, because what I really am is, in whole, should we say, is that which remains. Excuse me, when push comes to shove. Meaning, for example, to take an analogy from sports, the way that an athlete maybe performs once a year under the very best circumstances, when everything is just right and there's no injuries and the warm up was perfect and the nutrition is on point and so on. That shows that that athlete has that capacity in principle to perform like that. But if 99 times out of 100 the performance is much worse, then it's not fair to say that's really who I am as an athlete. I have to make that high performance, those high watermarks, my own, and consistently perform like that. And then I can say I'm a great athlete. Like maybe there's many athletes that have, for 5 minutes in their life, maybe for one game, performed as did perform the greats of different sports, be it Michael Jordan in basketball, Tom Brady in football, or otherwise. And yet, we don't speak about those people because they were not consistent, because they just did it once or twice. It's about what you do all the time, or most of the time at least. So, just so here, the way that I am under those ideal circumstances shows what I could be. It shows that I have the potential to feel and think and act in noble, charitable, kind, loving, wholesome ways. If I couldn't do it even once, then there would be no reason to think that I have the potential. A person cannot fly by flapping their hands even once. And that's because we don't have the potential at all to fly as do birds. But if a bird flies even once, right? And otherwise maybe it's injured or something. Again, it shows, well, in theory it could fly, but it's just not happening all the time yet. So the fact that sometimes we do have these high points shows that we could be like that, but we're not yet like that. We have to be like that consistently to really be able to say, this is me. Another point that could be made would be that past a certain age, it becomes the responsibility of myself to work towards the conditions such that would conduce to my best behavior, to my best feeling states, and so on. Meaning, as a little kid, it's understandable that if you disappoint a 3 year old, you take something away from him or her, so you frown at him or her, maybe something like this, and there could be a tantrum and crying and so on. And we don't say, oh, 3 year old, you have to, 2 year old, 3 year old, even 4 year old, 5 year old, you have to, know yourself and you have to live a different life, whatever. That's not realistic. That's perfectly normal. But past a certain age, it's possible in theory to gain in self-knowledge to where I could try to figure out what is it that I need to do in order to feel consistently good about myself, to feel consistently safe, at least emotionally, to feel secure, at least emotionally, because obviously physically not always possible. There's hurricanes and tsunamis and what have we, and wild animals and so on. But at least emotionally, what do I need to do in order to feel big inside, in order to feel good inside about myself? And the answer that is not always so easy to hear is that there is no immediate shortcuts. I mean, it's not like I can just brainwash myself immediately and say, I'm just the best. And I have to wake up every morning and brainwash myself that I'm the most beautiful and I'm the smartest and the most successful and the most glorious. And only then, once I've brainwashed myself enough, then I can treat other people with magnanimity, meaning treat them well. Then I can be patient and kind and so on. That's building on a faulty foundation because it's false. The real way would seem to be to gradually move in the direction overall as a whole person, as it concerns my own life, move in the direction of being the kind of person that I need to be in order to be able to enjoy my own self-respect, to consolidate the past with the present, meaning, I did certain things or I didn't do certain things, I missed certain opportunities or I did certain bad things, and now I need to figure out how to, instead of just repressing that or forgetting about it or denying it, how I can make it consistent with my present values, with how I'm living my life now, all that kind of stuff. I need to integrate myself and I need to engage in the activities over a long period of time that I need to engage in order to feel the safety and security emotionally again, at least, that I am after. So, for instance, let's say that I want to feel safe and secure as it concerns my goodness or badness as a person. One way would be to, meaning a person has a self-concept, I'm a good person, and yet in the back of my head, I suspect maybe that's not true. Maybe I'm not such a good person. And therefore, the second somebody questions my good personhood and says, oh, you did this, you did that, you made a mistake, somebody criticizes me, I can freak out because I'm not really secure in that. How do I become secure in that? Do I brainwash myself? You're a good person, you're a good person, you're a good person. Yes, you are. No, I actually try to become a good person by facing my faults, by treating people the way I want to be treated over a long period of time, by facing my triggers, by confronting my animality and alienation and animosity and all that kind of stuff. When I really do the deep work that I need to, emotionally, psychologically, I can feel comfortable that I am who I think that I am and who I say that I am and who I act as if I was and such, and so on and so forth. Even something like, I want to be secure in my identity as such and such person, right? That I have this profession. When I'm just starting out, it's not really mine yet, right? If I'm just a newbie, if I'm just a white belt. But if I stick with it and I become a black belt at whatever it is that I'm doing, well, then that is what it is. I am who I say that I am, because I've proven it, I've been there, I've done it, I've lived it. That's the real way to become then secure in one's identity. All of that requires humility and not fleeing from oneself, and not denying one's insecurities, and not denying one's emotional states, but really trying to contend with oneself in reality. Anyways, to briefly summarize, we see that there are drastic differences between how a person acts and feels in what he or she says and what he or she thinks and so on. Drastic differences between when I feel comfortable and I feel safe, I feel secure, again, at least emotionally and physically, usually as well. And I feel that people are respecting me, people are honoring me. I feel like my identity is not under attack. I feel like my egoism is not threatened. It's one thing, right? I'm placated, I'm nice, I'm calm, and I can just be my best self. Versus if I feel that I am under attack or I don't feel safe, I don't feel secure, I can be a completely and utterly different person and can go from being, again, Mr. or Miss Nice Guy or Girl to being Mr. or Miss Monster, just like that, very quickly. What does that say? That says that I have the potential to be a great person. But in order to really be a great person, I have to be consistent. I have to be kind and loving and forgiving and understanding, even if not especially when I am under attack and when my self esteem is infringed upon, when my pride is offended, and so on. But it still shows that I have that potential and I need to shoot again for that consistency. Now, with that said, it becomes my responsibility to eventually create those conditions over a long period of time where I can consistently feel safe and secure and comfortable, at least again, emotionally and intellectually. If I'm living in falsehood, I'm living in lies, I'm living in deceit, I can never truly feel safe and secure and so on because the real foundation simply is not there. So it becomes my responsibility, and consequently, it's a good idea to mind that responsibility so we can think about it. Thank you for listening.